Warning, the following video contains explicit language. Viewer discretion is advised. It will begin with non-spoiler review and then a spoiler review. You will be told when the spoiler review will start so you can stop whenever you want. Enjoy. Okay, so first things first. This is obviously from the title, non-spoiler, then spoiler review, because I'm lazy. Now, so first we're going to start with the spoiler review. Long story short, uh, I loved it. The destruction is more than anything. He's more invincible than ever. He's bigger, badder than ever. He looks like freaking Satan in this. And there were parts where they stole from some of the comic series, and if you've read the comic series, you'll know what part I'm talking about. It was the first. It was in the comic, this specific comic book, Godzilla Goes to Hell. It was just one little bit, and I don't know if they took it from that or not, but I loved it. I loved the little. I feel like it was kind of a nod. They made one sort of nod towards '98 by mentioning New York. I don't know if that was actually a nod or not, but it was the gravity of this. He does not fight a monster, which I'm okay with, and just the gravity of the situation. It's they're doing so many things right, but also some things kind of wrong because there was at the beginning, you're kind of like, what the hell? Because he shows up, sort of, things happen, and then things kind of slow down towards the middle, and then things get all hyped up again, and it's just awesome. The destruction is amazing in this movie. Tokyo has never been so fucked. And the fact that virtually nothing can hurt this Godzilla except for America, apparently. It's actually what happens. It's like Japan's like, oh, we can't do it. We need to call America. Okay, thanks, America. And all I can think is, America, fuck yeah. They were also trying to make some points, like, oh, those freaking Americans. And I'm like, is this all because of Legendary Studios? Or are they trying to make some sort of a bigger point? Because they mentioned America kind of being, oh, those Americans again. That's all right. But other than that, it was a fairly well paced movie, in my opinion. It started off pretty freaking strong. Like I said, towards the middle, a little more, there was just kind of a. It was kind of slower, but it went with the story well. I personally liked how everything was paced. I went to see it with my dad and Gamer King, and my dad made a point where it was kind of slow, maybe a little boring. I can see that for people who aren't really Godzilla fans, and or even if you're a Godzilla fan, I don't know. But my personal preference, I loved how this was paced, and I liked the ending. There are uh, science things that are mentioned, and it's like, okay, then yeah. Even my dad, he nitpicks this kind of stuff all the time, but he's like, oh, they did that, but that actually doesn't do that in reality. It's like, shut up. It's a fucking giant lizard that shoots atomic fire breath. And I'd specify a little more on that, but that's going to be in the spoiler portion of this. It's just, they one thing I will say, and this is kind of a spoiler, but doesn't really matter to the story, they completely reboot his origin. It's no longer from 1954. It has no connection to the 1954 movie at all. This is the first Godzilla movie that has zero connection other than the name and having him in it. It's the whole fact that he was born from the atomic bomb was non-existent in this, and I really like the new origin for him, which they didn't really specify quite what it was, but they gave you a pretty good idea. But overall, this is how I'm gonna end the non-spoiler. I suggest it for non-Godzilla fans. I saw it subbed. I don't think it's dubbed yet. It might not be dubbed ever. Who knows? I'd love it to be. I'll watch it again. I would love to. I would watch this movie 100 times. This might be my new favorite Godzilla ever, and that's pretty fucking big. That's a pretty big, bold statement. Because, as you can tell from my movie review, or my movie news about this, was I'm a pretty big Godzilla fan, and I'm kind of looking over it. I loved this Godzilla, man. It was so overpowered, they needed to nerf him down. He didn't fight a monster, but all I could think is, what monster could fight this? We barely could. They managed to stop it. They didn't kill him. You can't kill Godzilla. They never really successfully did that, except for in the original and sort of Godzilla vs. Destroya. Not really. That's still confusing. It's like, what happened in that movie? Did Junior absorb it, or was he reborn? Whatever. I don't even know. But overall, I suggest this movie to anyone and everyone, especially if you're a Godzilla fan. I personally loved it. You might have a different opinion, but you're wrong. I'm kidding. Don't get butthurt. Overall, it's a great installment for Godzilla, and it's a complete reboot, and I can't wait to see if and what they're going to do with it. Alright? Ready? Spoiler. I fucking loved just about everything in this movie. Still did not like the arms because they were so shriveled and they were just so unproportionate, but I got past that real quick. Because they... I don't even know how to say this. Derpzilla is how it starts off with. Basically, how it starts off is some shit happens. I'm going to start off with his origin first. Because I need to figure out how am I going to explain this. Basically, we don't know where he really came from. We just know kind of how he got to where he is. And he was in a spot where there was a bunch of nuclear waste. It was kind of like Godzilla vs. King Ghidorah in the 90s, where they transported him to somewhere, but that was also full of nuclear pollution anyway, so it changed him and no matter what. And he fed off of this, and this caused him to evolve rapidly. And there was a lot of comedy in this movie, too. I forgot to mention that in my non-spoiler, but there was a lot of comedy at the beginning, especially, because they're like, well, it's obviously not we have no idea what this is. It's possible that it's a new species. It's a giant sea creature there. Don't be silly. That's ridiculous. And then the tail comes out of the water, and it's just like, well, fuck me, right? And then it's just freaking, it's like, okay, well, we're safe. It's not going to be able to come on land because science proves it would be crushed under its own weight, which that's true. And then they're saying that in a press conference. There's no danger whatsoever, absolutely none chance of it coming onto land, so do not worry. Some guy comes up to the podium, whispers in his ear. It did what now? Yeah, it's pretty obvious that Godzilla went up on land because you're stupid. It's physically impossible. Not wrong, but this is a movie, so you are wrong. And, oh my god, this is so cool. I showed up. It was kind of weird, though. Kind of very weird. When I say Derpzilla, its eyes were like huge, and this was the most different Godzilla other than the 98 Godzilla, because that was so different it doesn't even count. But this is just so unique. I loved it. It was so different. It was awesome. It started off as kind of it didn't really have arms. It had stubs for its front arms and its back legs, and it crawled, struggling to stand up straight. But when it did, it let out the classic roar, and it was awesome. And oh my god. It's hard to continue this because I need to focus. I'm gonna, oh boy, I have to pause that for a second and cut it. I need to reconvene, gonna get my thoughts together. But basically, this Godzilla was very unproportioned from beginning to end in some way, shape, or form, but it got so much better towards the end. But the beginning was very unproportioned because it wasn't finished growing yet, and they actually have a point where it shows you evolving to the point where it can stand up straight, and it's just, its head was tiny, its eyes were huge, and it had gills. And I tell you, there's a lot of blood in this movie from Godzilla. And just, there's two parts where you see blood. One was like coming from its gills, another was when it was attacked once. And yeah, Godzilla had gills at one point, and then he evolved, and yada yada yada. It was pretty cool, but you see it evolving before your eyes at one point in the movie, and I thought that was really cool. I was like, what are they gonna do here? I was wondering that through the movie, and I liked what they did. I must be completely honest. I really liked what they had to do, and it got to the point where he stood up. Then they're like, oh, he's feeding off of radiation. That's how he's surviving. That's impossible. Oh shit, he did it. Oh great. That happens a lot in this movie where they're like, that's impossible, but he does it anyway because he's fucking Godzilla, and screw you. They don't have a name for him until about halfway. This Japanese reporter chick, I think I'm not sure. She's some sort of politician that's, I don't know what the situation is. She's from Japan but aspires to be the U.S. president. I don't know. She's hot. Now I got that to say. But I'm very confused as to what her character really was. She has this kind of relationship with a guy who's gonna aspire to be the Prime Minister of Japan. And, well, she brings the attention to this scientist who apparently foresaw the fact that Godzilla was gonna happen. And he came up with a name and everything. And it was Godzilla. And they're like, okay, well, the Japanese one's got Gojira, so screw you, Godzilla. But it was weird. They had English speaking in this movie, too. Which I did kind of realize that because when I was doing research for movie news, it said that the hardest part about filming for the actors was to learn English. Not that why they're speaking, what? It seems kind of out of place to me, and I kind of didn't like that. It's like, really, just stick to one language. They had American speaking in it. So it's like, if that's fine. But why have Japanese to Japanese speak English? That doesn't make any sense to me. Whatever. Back to Godzilla, the star of the movie. He shows up yet again. They're freaking out, obviously, because he's in his... There's one point where they go, oh my god, he's in his 4th evolutionary state. And I just thought, you fools, this isn't even my final form. And it sort of isn't. Yeah, he evolves twice. No, not twice, but obviously his 4th form is his normal form, and then he evolves a little bit more. Nothing to change his physique after that. This is where he looks like the devil. He's got his raisin arms, blah, blah, blah. But he evolves to become a fucking weapon, and it's awesome. And, well, when he shows up, they do something awesome. They play the original themes, and they're playing all of the original theme songs from the old movies, and it's awesome. The military themes, the Godzilla theme, and that was something I really missed from the Legendary Studios. I wanted them to play the theme, and all I could think now is, where's the atomic breath? It didn't show up for a little while after they were like, okay, let's try and take this thing out. They shoot it with everything they've got. Missiles bounce off of it. They blow up everything they can at it. They can't put a scratch on him. He's indestructible, pretty much. And then there's tanks, and they're shooting at his legs, and it slows him down, but they don't make a scratch either. And then he starts moving. It becomes night. They request aid from the U.S. This is where America, fuck yeah, comes in. And Predator missiles, I'm pretty sure is what they used. Those made a pretty big fucking dent. Because it's nighttime, it's pitch black because he caused a blackout, and he's glowing red, and it is fucking awesome. It looks so badass. And then just the Predator... I'm going to call them Predator missiles. I don't know if that's actually what they use. I'm pretty sure it is. But they fall right on his back. And they cause a tidal wave of blood. That's an exaggeration, sort of. But it just spills everywhere around Godzilla. There's no people really in the area to get injured by this. They've evacuated. There's still some spectators for some reason, but Godzilla doesn't like that. No, he gets pissed. So you know what happens? As soon as he gets hit with those missiles, he lets out his roar, and then he just kind of sits there for a bit, and you see the color of his spine changing to kind of a bluish purple, from red to bluish purple, and you know this shit is about to happen. This is the best atomic breath I have ever seen, and pretty much it starts off, he lets out, he's roaring, and it's different. It's kind of like he's letting out a gas, and then he lets out a spark, and it just, the entire city gone in an instant, basically. It was fucked. This is the most destruction in such a short amount of time. It was awesome, and oh my god, it was just so everywhere. Just nothing was left untouched. The entire city was gone with that one blow, and he wasn't even finished. The fire breath, it pressurized itself and became the laser atomic breath, cutting through buildings like butter. When this started and I forgot one thing to mention though. His jaw split open. It like split in half, kind of like Orga did when he was going to eat Godzilla and clone himself into it. But a better way to compare is if you ever seen Blade 2, he was like those mutant vampires that split their bottom jaw open, and it was awesome. And then he lit the fire, blah blah blah. And this is probably the strongest breath ever. I mean, well, I wouldn't say that, because in Godzilla Final Wars he slowed a meteorite down. But still, this breath was definitely probably the deadliest of all the breaths, because of how just sheer power. It would cut through everything. And then he stops the atomic breath and shoots multiple lasers out of his fucking spine. It's not just atomic breath anymore, it's just energy, sheer energy from his whole body. There was probably a few dozen lasers pointing upwards at the plane shooting down the Predator missiles, and he just fucked them. Oh my god, that was amazing. The entire time this destruction is going on, I'm thinking, this was mine and Justin's face the entire time this is going on. It's just, what the fuck is going on? This is awesome! I'm so giddy about it. I want to watch it again. That was awesome. And I'm fanboying right now. And I probably have a little bit of a bias because I just saw it and I'm still hyped. I'm not thinking clearly, and I don't care, because I want this to be exciting. I'm excited. I was excited. I really didn't know what to expect, and I'm very happy with what came out. So, on with the story. Keep going. I get sidetracked because I'm just so excited, obviously. So, on with the story. After the destruction happens, there's a lot of death and collateral damage, and he goes in a short hibernation for about 15 to 20 days, I think it was. And this is the point where it slowed down, and my dad kind of said it was boring or whatever, and I can see why you'd say it's boring, but I kind of liked what was happening. They were figuring out, how can we stop this? And they come to the conclusion that the only way to stop him is a nuke. And it's just, well, they tried that in every other one. Didn't work then. Well, not in every other one, but they tried that in Legendary Studios, and that didn't work, and they didn't want to end it like Legendary Studios. So, I'll get to that. I'm trying to keep a linear story. So, 15 days go by. They're trying to come up with a different way to destroy Godzilla, or at least keep him contained. And they're given 2 weeks to evacuate all of Japan, and they just can't do that. So they're like, all right, we got to find some ways. We got to delay the nuke as much as possible so we can go with this plan. Their plan is to freeze him from the inside, which is, it's kind of cool how this goes down. So he starts moving again after they attack him. he was still kind of immobilized, but then they have trains. He's on the train tracks, and they have trains rigged with explosives. They shoot two of them at him, and that kind of gets him moving again. And they're like, okay, this is what happened. Now they send in drones to attack, and he uses his spinal lasers to attack it. And it's not like actually out of his spines per se, it's out of his whole back, so they're just spread out everywhere. So he starts attacking the drones, and they're like, this is good. It's going how we expected. And it goes as planned pretty much. He gets shut down, and then I can't quite remember. I think they shot more missiles at him to kind of knock him down, which they do. They drop the missiles, they kind of get him weakened a little bit. Then they drop a fucking building on him, and then he falls. And I kind of feel bad for Godzilla, though. I mean, he looks like Satan, he looks evil, he looks like the destruction, God's wrath incarnate. But he's also a living creature, and it's like they're just fucking him up right now, which he's indestructible, but he's in pain, man. So what they do is they take trucks with a coagulant that's meant to freeze him. I can't quite remember what it was. It was all in sub, so I was having trouble kind of I mean, I watch anime, so I'm used to subtitles, but I still try to split my attention 50-50 to the subtitles and what's actually going on in the movies. And sometimes I would get distracted with the action and not pay attention to what's actually being said. So I don't remember what the coagulant was, but it was something that was meant to cool his body temperature down enough to freeze his blood to completely immobilize him, temporarily at least, which was not going to stop him. And they didn't really kill him for the sake of sequels, I'm assuming. But this doesn't work the first time. They have trucks with hoses or something, and that go directly into Godzilla's mouth, and I'm thinking this is going to just end horribly. So what does he do? He shoots his fucking laser breath and just blows up every truck and everyone around it. That did not work. It was pretty funny. So then they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, the first batch, they kind of failed. So good thing we have a backup plan and do it again. So what do? They send probably 30 or so, maybe more, maybe a little less, but probably about 30 or so or more, and of those explosive trains. And that just fucks him up. I'm just kidding. It's like missiles didn't do shit, but explosive trains, they just... like a few trains would explode, and then the others would shoot into the sky, and just explosions are surrounding Godzilla, and it's just like, oh, they threw him off. So he's kind of like, he's down for the count for a little bit, gets back up, they blow up the building next to him, that falls on him, he gets back up, they throw 3 more, maybe 4 more buildings on top of him, and it's like, alright, now he's fucking down, get him with the second batch. They get the second batch through, 100% done. All the trucks are emptied. What does he do? He bites down and just kind of lifts them up, and it's like, fuck this shit. And then he lets out a roar, and he's frozen. It worked. They beat Godzilla, the most indestructible version of him as well, which there wasn't a monster. They didn't need a giant mech to beat him. They just needed some sort of freezing coagulant to freeze his body temperature, and it froze him from the inside out, but he's still alive. And all I'm thinking is, I'm like, is that the end? I can live with that. But then they go with this saying, it's like, I guess the world's just gonna have to live with Godzilla now. You have him frozen. Now's the time to hit him with a missile or something to blow him up, and he'll shatter, dude. It's not fucking rocket science. Sort of. But it's like, okay, we'll coexist with Godzilla some way, somehow, blah, blah, blah. He's frozen right there. We'll rebuild Japan again. Around Godzilla. What? I'm so confused still. But then political stuff happens, and then they show Godzilla one more time. He's still frozen. I forgot to mention he shoots lasers out of his tail, too. Forgot to mention that. Yeah. This was kind of They're like, okay, his spine or his back lasers are done. Now he's probably out for the count. No, he shoots lasers out of his tail. It's pretty fucking cool. So he shoots lasers from his mouth, back, and tail. But the whole tail thing I kind of forgot about because it was overshadowed by something that happens at the very end, right before the credits. It starts at his face, kind of pans down his body. You see things, and they become very clear at the end of his tail. There's baby Godzillas splitting off of him. They were kind of humanoid with the spines and the tails, reminding me of the xenomorphs a little bit, but they were that was pretty gruesome imagery, I'm not even gonna lie. That was pretty fucking awesome, but pretty horrifying just to think a bunch of little Godzillas. It was almost like he was gonna split apart. Like, you know that scene from Pirates of the Caribbean, I think it was Dead Man's Chest, where Calypso goes, like, breaks down into a bunch of different crabs. I imagine it might be something like that, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening? Why are there baby Godzillas coming out of his tail, and why do they look so freaking demonic? They look horrifying. And what do you expect? This one looked like Satan. But then the credits roll, it plays the original theme, and I was completely satisfied with this movie. I loved it. It's one of my favorites now. I didn't know what to expect going in. I was like, is it going to be good? Can it get past the raisin arms? I didn't even notice it half the time because it was awesome. And I highly, like I said with the non-spoiler, I highly suggest this to anyone and everyone. I don't care if you're a Godzilla fan or not. I loved it. You might not, and I don't really care. I would still suggest giving this a chance because it was, this was probably the coolest Godzilla ever. It's just, they made him so OP. There's no way a monster could fight this. It's like, how? This thing is fucking, I don't even know. Words cannot express. But that is my review of Shin Godzilla, aka Godzilla Resurgence. And I'm really looking forward to see what they do with this series, if they're going to do anything with the series, if there's going to be new monsters, if they're going to expand on the fact that fucking babies coming out of his tail. What? I'm still trying to wrap my head around that. Holy shit. That's horrifying. And the world is goddamn screwed. But, oh, this movie was awesome. I loved it. I would absolutely watch this again as many times as I could until I get sick of it, which who knows when that'll even happen. I loved this movie. I need to get myself a Shin Godzilla shirt. So, go watch it.